Warning: the Chaotic Culture Podcast is a program for mature audiences. The language and content presented in this podcast is of a mature nature that some audiences may not find suitable. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Embrace the culture, blaze the doja, grab your loved ones and bring them closer. Extra, extra, read the poster, the KKP is taking over. Sleeping on me, better smell the Folgers. I've been razor sharp since the Motorola. Off for O, like the cover Oprah. Popping bottles, feet all in the sofa. It's a celebration, though the times is hard. It's raining blessings, give it up to God. Chaotic culture, the greatest pod. With Ked the Pro, the one in charge. But it's a celebration, times is hard. It's raining blessings, give it up to God. Chaotic culture, the greatest pod. With Ked the Pro, the one in charge.
We're living in a chaotic culture. 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 Oh, we're living in a chaotic culture. 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 Oh, we're living in a chaotic culture. 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 Oh, we're living in a chaotic culture. We're living in a chaotic culture. We're living in a chaotic culture. We're living in a chaotic culture.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast, the pod where chaos rules and black culture is elevated and embraced. This podcast will deep dive into modern black culture and how millennials and Gen Z can navigate the crazy parts, from finances, music, black business highlights, home ownership, HBCUs, sports, black nerddom, anime. We cover all that and everything in between. Live from the 7-5, I am the host and creator of the Chaotic Culture Podcast, your boy Ked the Pro, aka the Calculator Millennial, the Cutlass Diamond, aka Don't Be Pushing on My Buttons in My Cutlass unless you cut, aka your favorite toxic adjacent king. Always chaotic, never toxic on most days. Back again, once again, here in the 7-5. The 843 is me, but VA is where I stay. It's been quite an exhausting week, but we here again. Always got to show love and here once again for your black culture shenanigans and black culture highlights. With me today, of course, is the first mate of the pod here, my boy Law. Please go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Back at it again with another exciting episode. We ain't going to do too much talking on this one. We just going to get right down to it. Like Kay said, we got a mental health check coming up. So I'll start it out. I ain't gonna lie. These last 2-3 weeks have been trying, to say the least. I ain't really gonna complain, but I think from the sentiment you can hear that we both are tired, exhausted.
Yes, very, very much so.
And so just want to, reach out and say that to anybody who's listening is, take care of yourself first, your mental, your physical, drink your water, eat your vitamins, make sure you're eating, because I know when you get busy, that can also take a halt in itself. Make sure that you actually, doing what it is that's going to help to keep you going forward. But with all that being said, how you doing, Ked?
I'm all right, man. I'm tired as hell, but I'm all right. It's just been one of those months, actually. This has been a very grueling month, and it may be because I'm back in my old position at my job. So my schedule has been really nuts. And on top of that, with everything extracurricular going on top of maintaining the podcast, it's quite grueling, to say the least. Taxing, exhausting, whatever you want to call it. But that being said, I've been good attitude-wise, It's just a whole lot going on. So I've had to make adjustments to sleep schedule, or have been trying to make adjustments to sleep schedule, because it used to be where I could pop up at 8:30 and wouldn't have to be to work until 9:45. That ain't the case no more. Now I got to pop back up at anywhere between 5:45 to 6:15, 6:30 at the latest to be at a branch at no later than 7:30. So it's an adjustment. And daylight savings time did not help when we lost that hour at
You
all.
know, I feel like I think isn't there a state that doesn't recognize daylight savings?
Alaska and Arizona, I believe, don't recognize daylight savings. And I'm thinking that a lot of the states, or rather, daylight savings time, I don't know how to put it. I don't know if they recognize daylight savings time, but then don't shut it off when it ends, or if it's the opposite, if they don't recognize daylight savings time at all. But I do know that there was a bill put out to just say, hey, let's just do daylight savings time all year instead of having to set the clocks back 1 hour and then moving forward when the spring comes around. So we'll see how that goes. I saw something about that. I don't know how legit it is, and if it's gonna get to Biden's desk, we'll see what happens.
I mean, at this point, look, I'm tired. I need Biden to start stepping on some of the things that he's been saying, because he said a whole lot of something, and we haven't got a whole lot of nothing.
Well, speaking of which, I did at least want to highlight the one thing that he is promising on. So shout out to Ketanji Brown Jackson, who was his Supreme Court nominee and is the first Black woman who is a Supreme Court nominee. She is going through the Senate hearings right now as we speak. Day one was excellent, and of course, day two, she had that opposition who was asking her dumb questions that had nothing to do with her experience or her work or the Constitution for that matter. But that's the game that the other side plays to rile up their base. And they know that it works because their base don't understand a goddamn thing about the Constitution. But other than the First Amendment, maybe, and the first half of the Second Amendment, but ask them about all them other 25 amendments, that nothing. Not a thing. But either way, we keep talking about how the system wasn't built for us, but that the opposition don't understand the system itself. So they just benefited because of their privilege, but we ain't gonna go there. But shout out to
I got time.
shout out to Ketanji Brown Jackson. Hopefully she won't deal with too much of this bull no more, and she will be nominated as a Associate Supreme Court Justice within the coming days, and history will be made, and we will have our first Black woman on the Supreme Court. That is a start. Now, Biden, I just need you to expand the Supreme Court because we need that, but either way.
Another debate for another day.
Indeed. With that, in Black culture shenanigans, real quick, just wanted to highlight that obviously Megan Thee Stallion is having some label issues again. And this time her label is trying to sue her, saying that her last album, Something for the Hotties, was not an album. According to her lawyer, when they signed off on the paperwork, they said that it was. But either way, I want to see Megan win. I do want to see her win with this. And hopefully to any artists out there, be they women or men in hip hop, please read those deals. Please get you a lawyer before you sign your name on a dotted line, because them 360 deals is no joke. And Megan is unfortunately a prime example of what happens when you don't read the paperwork. And I'm not saying that to discredit Megan. I'm saying that you just have to be extremely careful with this. It's why a lot of artists now are going independent or they're signing distribution deals. Please pay attention to that paperwork, man. Please.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you saw, but she apparently went to Twitter talking about how she got shot, and people were saying that she didn't get shot. I'm just like, bro, like
they still on
y'all still can't let this woman like live that shit down. Like she already had too much to deal with in that situation in the first place, and y'all just making her recreate the situation.
Yep. It's crazy, man, that she is still having to fight that battle. So hopefully this will all come to an end when the actual court cases happen and we find out exactly what Megan has been telling us. So definitely more prayers and more light and love to her. We definitely support Megan on this podcast and not the other guy. I'm sorry. If y'all feel a certain way, y'all can not listen. No skin off my bones. Anyway, real quick in wrestling news, rest in peace to Scott Hall, aka the bad guy, aka Razor Ramon. That was my guy, man. And I know that Scott Hall had a lot of alcohol and drug problems back in the day, which 80s and 90s wrestler didn't. But still, he overcame so much after he retired from wrestling. And it really just broke my heart to see what was happening to him and how he had the surgery. The blood clot got to him. The man ended up having 3 heart attacks. It's real wild. So definitely praying for his family and for the wrestling community out there. Y'all know how much Scott Hall meant to the wrestling community. That man is one of the greatest intercontinental champions in the old WWF of all time. And obviously one of the cornerstones of the NWO, aka the New World Order. I might throw a little snippet of that in there of the song. We'll see. But anyway, definitely rest in peace to Razor Ramon or Scott Hall. And speaking of which, again, WrestleMania season is coming up, but we'll get to that when we get there. We got 2 more weeks before we hit WrestleMania. It's going to be playing on Saturday and Sunday. It's a 2-night event. Definitely check that out with us. I will probably do a reaction episode, and we'll see where that goes. Anyway, let's get to the actual main topic of today, which is the follow-up of the TDE Discography. Now, obviously, we had a good time recording it. Took almost 4 hours to get through it. Whew, our longest episode. Yet, it did pretty good. I didn't think that we would get that many listens considering how long it was, but it seems that everyone does have an interest in at least TDE. And we ended up getting 50 listens the first week. So we definitely appreciate y'all for tuning in. We'll keep running those numbers up. We definitely appreciate it. That being said, I just wanted to ask how you felt about the episode, Law. What's on your mind?
After I went back and listened to it, I was just like, I was still caught up on that on Leak's take on Wayne. And I mean, I get it. I get it. He's not a part of TDE, but I feel like that feature kind of made Chasing Summer? Like,
with Sir's album.
Yeah, like you can't just write them off because you don't like an artist. Like I feel like again, the features that were on the album were top tier. Like it wasn't really too many misses on the album.
I don't necessarily disagree. I think I enjoyed November a whole lot more. And going back and listening to the album, it's like, okay, Wayne's feature wasn't that bad. Zakari's feature wasn't that bad because I definitely slammed Zakari's feature when we did the episode, but it wasn't that bad. It helped boost the song and it helped boost the album. But yeah, I can tell that Leak is not a fan of Wayne, which oddly enough is crazy because Wayne is such a big influence on Kendrick. It's just wild hearing that. It's just like, dang, bro, he's slandering the dude that Kendrick looked up to, man. Kendrick had a whole daggone mixtape based on the Carter 3. So it's really crazy. But I understand that as the years go on, certain rappers don't meet the same level of excellence that they had. So that means that their appeal has also come down as well. And with Leak, it just so happened that Wayne was that artist. I can't really call it. I can't call it. But definitely shout out to Leak for his controversial takes on that episode. If y'all have not checked out the Worst Generation Pod, please be sure that you do. You can follow them at Worst Gen Pod on Twitter and at Worst Generation Pod on Instagram. Leak is the man behind the Worst Gen Pod Twitter handle. He is, by all practical purposes, the bad guy. Especially if you've seen some of those Run My Fade tournaments, he will put your favorite anime up against one of your other favorite anime and not give two shits about it. So definitely check them out whenever they do those Run My Fades. It is a very interesting time, but it makes for good entertainment on the timeline. Definitely shout out to Rome as well, aka Lettuce, aka Master D, also of the Worst Gen Prod. I loved his energy. I love the way that, when we got talking about Kendrick, like everybody was just like, oh, and you could tell that energy was with Rome as well. Like everybody just came together in agreement with where we rank Kendrick's album. Speaking of which, did you come to the conclusion of how you would rank his albums?
I think I still stand on what I was saying. Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn. Section 80 is like right there. And then the Black Panther album.
Okay. Yeah, I will say those three albums is really, when it boils down to how I'm feeling, I guess it really just depends on the time of day, because there were days that I will go and listen to Good Kid, Mad City nonstop because I'm like, I need something to really, really vibe with, and something I need to hear a story. There are days where I'm militant as fuck, and I'm like, I'm putting on this. I'm not the Black Panther. Excuse me. I'm putting on To Pimp a Butterfly. I'm militant today. Fuck that shit. And then there's days where I'm fighting spiritually, and it's like, okay, I need to hear Kendrick's story again about his face, so that way I can lock in too, and make sure that I'm doing, right by my God, and making sure that I'm following the straight path, and making sure that everything that what it boils down to is that it's none of these things are affecting me while I'm living my life. So, it really just depends on the day. Section 80 is kind of off on its own because it holds as I said on the episode, it holds a key place in my heart. That's just one album that I can kind of just listen to at any time or any place, no matter what I'm feeling. I'll throw on Section 80, like, all right, I need to hear ADHD. All right, I need to hear Rigor Mortis. I need to hear Cushion Corinthians. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. But those top three, Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, and Damn, it really just depends on the time of day. And I think that's the brilliant part of Kendrick's art, because really and truly, there are some people who will be like, okay, they'll put Damn below the other two. But with me, it's like I could juggle. It don't matter which one, for real, for real. They're all three of them are great. To Pimp a Butterfly is the highest rated rap album on Metacritic. Damn is the second highest, right next to Stankonia by Outkast. And Damn got a Pulitzer. Good Kid, Mad City, I stand on the fact that it should have gotten more love when it dropped. And it'll forever be Macklemore, you son of a bitch. I wanted to say a different word, but I remember he's white. So it's just like, bro, you should damn. I keep thinking about that. Like, yeah, this man really robbed this man of this award. But the Grammys did not, for whatever reason. I don't know what they were thinking, but either way, you got a whole bunch of appropriation of the culture. So that's probably what played a part into that. But that's another story for another time. Still,
say though, we need to start getting like a renowned Black Ran award show.
Yeah. I have, unfortunately, I would always put the BET Awards up there, but like the BET Awards have not been like all that good for a while now. And mainly I just watch to see what antics are happening. I'm not even really caring about who gets the awards anymore. And that's kind of sad, because I used to watch for the performances and the awards. And now we've gotten to a point where I'm like,
I haven't watched them in probably about 6-7 years now. Roughly. I just, before I used to be hyped. Like, the performances were dropping. Like, yeah. when I realized BET wasn't owned by us, I was just like, yeah, got.
Oh, I've known that BET was not owned by us for a long time. So I remember that day when Deborah Lee took over. And then that's when I realized that Viacom had bought BET. And I'm like, shit, here we go. So that being said,
movie, Baby Boy.
Oh my God.
Set it off.
Uh-huh.
It's like, damn, all they like to do is portray these false narratives. Like, they're not daddy's girls. Like, come on, let's get some that's promoting some shit. Like, and then you get Black History Month as it rolls around, and they play The Color Purple. What's the long ass movie? Kunta.
Oh, Roots.
Yeah.
I think the last time like I really paid attention to BET for real was the New Edition story and the Bobby Brown story. I wasn't able to catch any of those other specials, but those are the main two stories that I went back to BET to watch. So,
like, it's like one of them things. It's just like we got to get back to promoting the successes and not the racial stereotypes.
Tell me about it, bro. Tell me about it. And speaking of award shows that need to get back into higher prominence, I will also say that for a while, I also liked the BET Hip Hop Awards, but then the main thing about the BET Hip Hop Awards isn't the awards, it's the ciphers, which I still love, but it's like we're still taking away from the awards.
The ciphering has fallen off.
And it has. I think the ciphers have really fallen off since that. I don't want to put it on the TDE cipher, but honestly, I think since the TDE cipher, the ciphers have not been the same since. That was the last cipher that had me like, oh shit. And then everything else is like, okay. Yeah. But boy, them ciphers like before that one. Man, them ciphers used to be lit, bro. I remember which cipher was that? I'm gonna get away from Kendrick a little bit. It was on the same episode though, but it was the Slaughterhouse cipher with Eminem and Yellow Wolf. Dog, they killed that shit. Damn. Then we had that same episode had a cipher with Ludacris and Busta Rhymes, and they just came in and floored everybody. And then that same cipher, that's when we saw it was Big Crit, Machine Gun Kelly when he first came on the scene, and obviously before he switched genres. Who else was in that cipher? Kendrick, B.O.B. There was a third person. Oh, Tech Nine. That cipher was dope.
Was bonkers, bro.
Yes.
Tech Nine came in. Blah, 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 blah. I was just like, yo. Made you like remember like he had solid material for a hot minute.
Yes, absolutely.
What was those songs?
Hey, hang on real quick while you think about that. We got Nasa on the phone here. What's good? Yes, ma'am. No. Come join in. Come join in. All right, sounds good. All right, Nasa. All right. All right, Nasa's gonna clock in with us, ladies and gentlemen. She's running a tad bit late, but yeah. What were you saying about that cipher, bro?
No, I was just saying like their flows, like from artist to artist, were like seamless. Like they give like a little eight count drop, and then they right back into it. You know what I'm saying? Whereas these ciphers now is like, okay, 8, 16, 24 off the beat. So I'm like, that's not what I want to hear right now.
No, that's real.
Push the bars, bring the bars back.
Please. I will give credit to the BET Hip Hop Awards from last year when it was kind of virtual, when they did the reggae cipher. I enjoyed that one because that one
was
had
different.
Yeah, that was real different because that had Beanie Man, that had Bounty Killer, that had Coffee, and I believe Stephen Marley on there. Yeah, so that cipher was excellent. So we definitely need to have a moment where the awards for Black artists are going to be like really prominent and really focused, like the Grammys and like the VMAs and the Billboard Music Awards and the American Music Awards. We need to have those. You said what?
The Soul Train Awards.
Oh, yes. I will say the Soul Train Awards are good. I will give that much credit to them because they do a good job at selecting their artists. And those awards, frankly, I think need more shine. I really want Soul Train to come back, but that's another story for another time too. So, and ladies and gentlemen, NASA has joined us.
Y'all,
please, ma'am, introduce yourself and tell us why you're late.
listen, y'all. It's the female Picasso, aka Tony the Wire. You already know it is. It's not NASA, your girl, the queen. I'm sorry, I'm late. I'm so sorry. I don't even have an excuse. Girl was asleep. I don't even have an excuse. I don't even have an explanation. I do apologize. I got the late notice. Had a little early nap. Didn't wake up until a couple minutes ago. So I do apologize. I do apologize for my lateness. Please forgive me on all of that. That part.
It is okay because we were literally just talking about how tired all of us seem to be this month.
Exhausted.
We were exhausted. Yes, like it is a fitting theme right now.
Exhausted.
Lashes for you, madam.
But I'm so sorry for my tardiness. My goodness.
It's all good. It's all good, Nasa. We appreciate you popping in. Anyway, we were talking about how we felt about the latest episode, which was, of course, the TDE Discography and how we ranked. I literally just asked Law, how he felt specifically about the episode and about how we grade in certain projects. So I wanted to ask you that same question. How did you feel about the episode? We went for almost 4 hours. It was the longest episode, but we ended up getting 50 listens the first week. So, we congratulated ourselves on that. So I just wanted to know, how did you feel about the episode? What were some highlights? And then what were some things that made you scratch your head?
I enjoyed the episode a lot. It was long. It was definitely long. But it was just good to get to hear everyone's perspective on the whole TDE, catalog. TDE is one of my favorite labels. And I do appreciate them with all of the artists that they have come out with. I think if we're gonna say if we're gonna be iffy, it's probably when we spoke about Ab-Soul, only because I'm not the most into Ab-Soul, probably as an artist. Incredible lyricist though. Incredible lyricist, but that was probably a low point. Not even a low point, but just kind of it was kind of iffy for me. However, of course, my high note was definitely Isaiah Rashad and Kendrick Lamar. Okay. Fair point. And I guess that leaves me. I would say maybe one of the wildest parts of that night, obviously to agree with Law, is Leak's take on Lil Wayne. That completely took us. That was completely left field, and it just surprised everybody. Yo, what?
It was just funny. As soon as he said it, we were just like, you're sure? Okay.
Okay, right. And considering that we did a whole episode on Wayne's discography, I'm just sitting here I'm glad we didn't have him for that episode, because I know he would have shit on all of Weezy's albums after the Carter 3. So
let's talk about it.
Matter of fact, I actually want him to go back and listen to the episode and give some feedback.
I'm gonna hit Leak up and I'm gonna be like, yo, what did you think, man? Honest opinion. So he of course on Instagram said that he said what he said and he stands by it. And I'm like, all right, man, all right, big dog, you got it. But yeah,
The
that was one of the
squad ain't coming
highlights.
for you.
What's up?
I was like, the firearm squad ain't coming for you. You just, you're entitled to your opinion.
That's really real. I will say that putting that whole episode together was incredibly arduous and tedious.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to put that episode together was hard because I couldn't save it in one file. It was huge. And the version of Ableton that I have just didn't cut it. They're like, yeah, we can't save this file, bro. It's too big. So I literally had to split it up into 4 separate parts and trying to mix and master and trying to add different sound effects to that. Talk about tired. I still haven't posted the episode on our Patreon just because I'm like, do I really want to go through all of that?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think Patreon will allow me to post part 1 and part 2. I can't put them both together just because of how big the file is, but still, it was a lot to put together. And that being said, I'm still proud of the work that we did and the material that we talked about. Now, back to obviously the highlights of this episode. For me, I will say that when we got to J-Rock, I was a little surprised about the feelings of 90059 because I thought that at least everybody would have gave it a higher grade. So that one was the one that took me by like a complete surprise. I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty then. But obviously we all felt that Redemption was his best work, which that, we came to agreement on that. But still, the take on 90059 definitely was not what I expected. So I will give that take, but it's fair. It is a fair take because it is a very weird concept album. Looking back on it, it's still a good album by all means. It's just when it was coming from him between Follow Me Home, which was obviously his debut, Redemption, which was his last one, which is his biggest project, and then 90059, and seeing how he was experimenting with that, I could kind of see where everybody was coming from. The other biggest surprise for me was SZA, because I honestly thought everybody was about to be like, yeah, she's about to be in A class or maybe a soft S, like she's borderline S, and that is not what I got. I'm gonna be honest, I was shocked. I'm like, damn, that's how y'all felt about Z? I loved Z. Shit.
I need more. Like, she has a lot of features. I need at least one more project for it to actually stamp, I guess, where she's going to actually stand within the tier list, if that makes sense. And that's not to say that, was it Control and Z? Not to say that those projects aren't bad, but like outside of her singles and her features, I don't really have too much to really base anything off of. I'm being honest. And when it boils down to all the other artists that we went over and did overview of, they have it. I mean, outside of the newer artists, look at Isaiah. Isaiah has like 4 or 5 albums that we can actually go back and talk on. But they both came in at the same time.
Yeah, and with also it's also like we can talk about like with Isaiah, there's a little bit of range, just like Law said. He has a little bit more range than SZA. So it would have been great if, she dropped another project. I mean, of course, like she has a couple singles that she's dropped as of recently, but if, she came out with a whole nother project, we can definitely like have better perspective as far as her growth has been. On how her growth has been, but we can't really do that off of 2 projects. The projects were solid, definitely solid, but in regards to her, I would like to see the growth that she is able to have. And
fair point.
Can't really see that based off the most current project that she has.
Right. I will say that perhaps maybe we could have listened to her first two projects, which was again C Scissor Run and S, if we could find them, and kind of base those two projects that were not on TDE based on the projects that she did have with TDE, and kind of see how she had grown from an artist from that point up to now. But that wasn't part of the criteria. So obviously we have to wait for her next project under TDE, which, judging from the song that is getting a whole lot of radio play right now, I Hate You, hopefully this will be a banger album.
That song. She did a thing on that song.
It's gonna be a whole bunch of wall sliding again.
A whole lot of
ain't
wall
lying, bro. You is not lying.
You know,
So,
I feel like we can say that like she has grown a lot as an artist, because even before she was with TDE, she was writing a lot of music. So her pen was going. Maybe sound wise, it hasn't, like, we could see I would want to see more as far as like sound wise, but like on a lyric and on a lyricism, no, like she's been in the game for a little bit.
I can dig it. I was gonna say, I don't know if y'all have watched the Revenge of the Dreamers or Dreamville 3 documentary on YouTube. Watching that and how they put together all those artists kind of like gave me a better understanding of Dreamville. And so like it'd be dope if, you know, not saying TDE did the same thing, but they had something similar to where they broke down the characteristics and dynamics of all the artists in TDE. You know what I'm saying? It would help give a better, especially for the reason I'm saying that is because they broke down Ari Lennox, and well, they didn't break her down, but they talked about how a lot of the embodiment that she had as one of the only female artists in Dreamville kind of gave her a drive to actually produce and actually be present within the label. And so I was gonna say that I feel like it's kind of the same thing with SZA. Like she is, in a sense, having to foot that bill as the only female artist.
You know, that's a very good point. And oddly enough, somebody had asked if we could do a tier list for Dreamville. And I said, give us some time before we get to that, because we still got a couple others to cover. But on top of that, we just need to prepare ourselves to be sure that, you know, we can take on that heavy of a project, because we know that one's probably going to be long too. So
Okay.
I'm going to be extremely biased in that tier list. So I hope y'all ready. I'm sorry.
Hey man, I'm here for it. I'm here for it, bro. And you know what? That is something that I can't wait to get to. But we got a while. We got a while, and I don't think it's gonna be. Well, no. It shouldn't be that many albums for real. But I know it's about to be a whole bunch of mixtapes and EPs on there too. So it'll be interesting. And thankfully, I don't think we have that many projects that would be covered like we had to do with TDE. So because we still have, if I'm looking at all the artists that are under Dreamville, you know, J. Cole would probably be the longest one, but with Bass, with Kaz, with Omen, Jid, Luke.
You know, I think that we should definitely do Dreamville, because that their artist list actually goes crazy.
Yeah. And looking at the artists, it's like, you know, we might be able to do this, because it's not as long as I thought it would take. It's not going to take that long. But I definitely want to have some guests on there as well. So we gotta. I might have to call over. Brother X from Truth and Transparency, because he is a J. Cole stan and he would love to be a part of this. So I will definitely have to put that up for debate here on when we can tackle that.
Is Jid part of Dreamville? I think he's part of Dreamville.
Yes, Jid is part of Dreamville. Shout out to HU.
Have to. We got to.
Yeah. We will cover.
I was down bad. Yeah.
So, all right.
And,
So I think we have got that in the bag. So we will definitely cover Dreamville in one of these episodes. So overall, how did everyone feel about the list? Was it mainly, do we think that there were still some things that, could have been higher, could have been lower? Or do you think we pretty much got it right? Because the one response that I did get from our Instagram was that, we hit a nail on the head as far as where everything ranked. So do y'all have any disagreements with where we ranked everything?
I just felt like had there been a little bit more music from the newer artists and possibly a little bit more subject. Did I just say the same thing?
Hey, you tired, bro.
Subject matter? Subject matter?
Had there been more projects and had there been more subject matter? Okay, I didn't say the same thing. I'm sorry. Yeah. I think it would have been more of a debate as to where each artist got ranked. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, everything where it lied, it was pretty much spot on.
Okay. I don't have an issue within it. I don't have an issue with where we placed everything. I think it was pretty valid in our responses. I do. I only wish that we had placed Isaiah Rashad's the House is Burning just a little bit higher. But other than that, that's it. Other than that, like, it hurt my heart because he was talking about, I think who was it, Leap? Yeah. Talking about that wasn't his best project. I said, sir, please, what are you talking about?
But I mean, it was but like, I think when it really came down to Isaiah, it came down to the numbers. So like, right. I mean, you can't dispute the numbers when we talk ranks.
Numbers. Can't dispute the numbers. But I do feel like where we placed him was still in a good area. Was still in a good rank. But yeah. I have no complaints on how we ranked everything.
Yeah, I'm with y'all there.
I'm surprised we didn't get no 8701 takes.
Yeah, nothing like so seriously outrageous. I think for the most part, we all kind of felt the same about each project. For the most part, some might have been like a little higher than others, but none of them were like way too far off that we had like people questioning like, wow, you putting it there? Like, what? What are you, what? Like, we didn't have any of those. We had more of a, dang, like, I wish it's got a little bit higher. Like, I think it could go like right here, but it's still an A. So, I'm not too upset about it. It was kind of those takes like, okay, I disagree, but it ain't too far off from where my opinion is. So I think we had a good understanding of where each album was when it came to that. So I am very, very satisfied with where this list is. I think the one thing that when it came to Ab-Soul's album, I did kind of wish that Long-Term Mentality got a little higher, but I'm not upset. And I kind of wish that Oxymoron was an A as opposed to a B. But either way, it was a high B plus, so I'm not upset about that either. It's like, okay, well, that's fair. So, but everything else was pretty much spot on.
I wish low-key wish Blank Face was ranked a little higher because that was such a good album.
Yeah,
but that means you're putting it up. You're putting it ahead of November and The Sun's Tirade.
Yeah, and Untitled, Unmastered, and Redemption. That it was like, dang, yo, is it better than those projects? Is it or is it the same? It's a lot. It's a lot.
I would put Blank Face probably before Sun's Tirade, but not before November because November.
I was about to say.
Sir,
yeah.
that. Okay,
I honestly think
put before November.
Yeah, I honestly think if I had to go back and re-rank November, I would probably put that like a little higher. I think November could probably be almost after Redemption, if not tied with Redemption, because November was such a great project. So that might be an album we can revisit later on. But overall, yeah, I think I'm satisfied with what we got here. The top.
Hey,
what's up?
topic for the next show. We could do a album versus. We put an artist or two artists together, and we put like 3 or 4 of their albums in the pot, and we listen to them through and through, and then we put them versus who we think they would match up against, or just do it off the random, just hat in the bag, pull something out. All right, we got Sun's Tirade versus November. Boom, get to it.
Okay. Hey, that's a good idea.
Song for song.
Yeah, that is a very good idea. I'm definitely down for that. So we'll discuss that later, and we'll definitely put that in the pot because I think it definitely deserves a discussion. Anyway, guys, are there any other comments about the last episode?
Oh, we did great, man. I'm really liking this whole podcasting thing, man. It's refreshing.
Yes, sir. So, if there be no other comments, before we sign off, obviously there's a couple things that I want to highlight. First and foremost, we're in the middle of March Madness. We're in the middle of the Sweet 16. Shout out to the motherfucking UNC Tar Heels.
You better know it.
Yes, sir.
You better know it.
Yes, sir.
I was UCLA coming up. Let's go,
man. When I tell you, I had never been happy to have a busted bracket because I damn sure was like, man, Baylor gonna come in and get to the Sweet 16, but it's all good.
Overhyped.
Yeah, definitely. So I got the Tar Heels overcoming UCLA. They at least get to the Elite Eight. I don't care. I'm sticking to that. And if they don't, oh well, I'm sticking to that. Man, March Madness, bro. March Madness. We lost Kentucky.
Kentucky went sad, bro.
Sad. St. Peter's, man, surprised a lot of people. And here they are in the Sweet 16, bro. If St. Peter's get to the Final Four, I'm going to be like, yo, what is going on? Gonzaga is barely surviving as is. But yeah, I mean, it's called March Madness for a reason. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the remaining bracket for everybody else. If you're not paying attention, or if for whatever reason you caught on late and don't know exactly what the matchups are for the next round of the NCAA men's tournament. Arkansas versus Gonzaga, Michigan versus Villanova. That should be a good matchup. Texas Tech versus Duke, Houston versus Arizona. And then on Friday, we got St. Peter's versus Purdue, Providence versus Kansas, UNC versus UCLA, and Iowa State versus Miami. And with that, and we had some strange moves in the NFL, but we will probably have to save that for another episode because a lot of stuff happened in the offseason, and I'm still scratching my head on this. Like, Mitch Trubisky to the Steelers really, I'm not gonna say that's a bad move. It's an unexpected move. It's not the move I would have made, but it's not a bad move per se. But I'm still scratching my head on it. But I did see that the Steelers put a lot into their O-line because they got a lot of O-line acquisitions. So when Ben retired, it's like, hey, we got more cap space. Let's go ahead and grab all these O-linemen. So I will give them credit for doing that. So hopefully
I have an O-line and no quarterback to facilitate. I'm going to be weak. I'm sorry.
I feel
but
that,
I mean,
bro.
I can't really talk right now because once again, it's hard to be Cowboys, man.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. In other, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to talk about, and I don't think so. I think we just about
my Heat are still dominating. They're doing pretty well. Last time I looked.
Yeah, my Bulls dropped down to 5th, but they just got Patrick Williams back. So hopefully the defense can lock down a little better. But right now they're in a battle with the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm just hoping that we somehow pull off a win. But I don't think we're doing that because we're losing by 21 right now. Man,
we got
I'm
the
just
Warriors tomorrow. That's going to be a good game.
I'm just hoping at this point that the Bulls at least make it to the second round of the playoffs, and then we could worry about the offseason maneuvers and making sure that everybody's healthy. But
I believe that's feasible.
Yeah, it's a lot better than where we came from because we didn't even make the playoffs last year. Like we was trash. So yeah. All right. Well, with that, I gotta do the Black business highlight here. Real quick, I am going to shout out my girl Lo and her business Black Magique, but this one specifically, Lit Wands. And Lit Wands is a small Black women-owned business out of Baltimore, Maryland that specializes in handmade jewelry and 420 accessories. You can follow them on their socials at Lit Wands. That is on IG, Facebook, and TikTok, and it is spelled LITWANDZ. They are also hosting their first pop-up shop on April 16th. If you're interested in attending the event or perhaps vending at the event, visit their Eventbrite link for tickets and registration. And with that, I'm going to give you guys the Eventbrite link here for those who are interested in that. You already know how I am about highlighting Black businesses, but especially Black businesses owned by Black women. And just look up Eventbrite. Just go to eventbrite.com and look up Lit Wands, and you should be able to spot them. So there's that. Any other Black business highlights or Black podcast highlights before we sign off?
Do what you over here.
All right. Let us go through the list. For the Black podcast shout outs, we got to start with our anime list. Shout out to My Check Waifu, Worst Generation Podcast, and Blanime Podcast. Of course, I am a Patreon subscriber to all three. Please be sure that you check them out. You can also check out Alt Arc, which actually aired their first episode, even though it was on Patreon. But shout out to Moody Senpai and Senpai Saturdays, and for her new podcast that she has just launched. Also, check out Dad Needs to Talk, Analytical, Where Shit Gets Critical, and Giant Shooty Robots for our mech heads. Please be sure that you also check out the Truth and Transparency Podcast. I was just on the last episode where we did a March Madness bracket for Wale. Definitely be sure that you check out that episode if you haven't. Again, that's the Truth and Transparency Podcast with Brother X, the Culture Scientist, and Mr. Smith. Shout out to y'all. Also, shout out to Inside the Mind of a Blurred, all of y'all. The Session with Jay and Trey. Brutal Honesty with K. Renee, a.k.a. Sedona Rose. Please be sure that you check out her podcast, and please be sure that you buy one of her books or check out one of her novellas. You can find her at the pen name, again, Sedona Rose, on Amazon Kindle. For our Black content creators, please be sure that you shout out Black Anime, and I actually got a chance to meet the man behind Black Anime, who is a good brother and a good noob here. Definitely shout out to my boy. We got a chance to meet up at the Epsilon Zeta new membership presentation, which was at Norfolk State. So definitely shout out to my boy Evan, who runs HBCU Anime. We appreciate you. Also shout out to Sundari, who works in tandem with HBCU Anime as well. Definitely be sure that you check out her YouTube. The Geechee Gamer, my girl Kiana, Icarus Metro Comics with my boy Calvin, and Studio Maho with my boy Pat, aka Gumbo Goon, and Yin, aka Yin Designs, Kokujin Creates. Definitely shout out to them, who are also a part of our Black business list. Also shout out to Already Paid by Dre, Cream Cosmetics by Naima, Mind Over Money by Tremaine, Concept Moon by my boy Strange Keith, and She Designs 2 by my girl Erin, and H4 Creative Firm by our girl Zenobia. I've already shouted out Lauren and Black Magique and Lit One, so definitely be sure that y'all check out that pop-up shop. All right, y'all. Be sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Chaotic Culture Podcast. You can follow us and like our page on Facebook. You can also follow us on Instagram at Chaotic Culture Pod, and follow us on Twitter at Chaotic_Culture. You can follow me, Ked the Pro. That's K3D the Pro on all social media. You can follow my boy Law on Instagram at L.JR_96 and follow him on Twitter at Law96_. And you can follow Miss Nasa on all social media at _Call Me Nasa. Please be sure that you subscribe to our Patreon account. That is patreon.com/Chaotic Culture Pod. And you can join on any of the 4 levels. It does not matter which one. We thank you for your support. You can also support us on anchor.fm if you choose to support us. That way, we still appreciate your support here. This has been another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. Until next time, folks, remember, embrace the culture. Chaos rules. Be blessed. Be safe. God is love. Deuce.
One.
It's chaos in these streets, so let's talk about it, please. Let's hold some conversation. You see where I'm coming from. Yes, it's so amazing. Go ahead, get comfortable. You can grab a seat, take a load off your feet. Yeah, welcome to the table. We don't tell no lies over here. This ain't no fable. We just live our lives over here. We ain't no angels. We just shine our light over here. We got the power. We just showing love over here. Everybody needs some, yeah, and we don't need a reason. Everybody needs some.